Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at the 10 greatest games Ubisoft has ever made. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
The only backroom deals that I've seen lately were made by you. You're a murderer and a war criminal.
While the first two Splinter Cell games had some captivating ideas, they both inflicted some frustration in their difficulty and stealth mechanics. Chaos Theory, on the other hand, managed to find that striking balance in difficulty. Rarely did it ever feel like you were getting caught by some random thing the game never hinted at. Every level effectively communicates to you what you need to do, where enemies might be guarding, and it does so while demanding you plot out your moves before charging in. The graphics and story were just icing on an already tasty cake. If only we could get more of these Tom Clancy games instead of tacking his name onto anything military themed.
Yo!
I'm the guy you never saw.
Please, we're allies!
Far Cry 3.
Are you gonna be okay? I've got to talk to the doctor about the others. You sure?
Some might point to Far Cry 3 and its radio towers as the start of the saturation of open-world games. That might be true to some extent, but there is a reason behind that. Far Cry 3 was truly an excellent game from start to finish, radio towers included. In addition to showing how to make a compelling villain the star of your game instead of the hero, Far Cry 3 made you feel like a lethal one-man army as you barged into enemy camps that became more armed to the teeth the further you progressed. It created a pace that made you feel like a true badass, like Rambo, without making the game feel like a dumb power fantasy. And it was here that Far Cry found its format for the next several games.
Promise me that I'd take care of you, Whoa.
Valiant Hearts: The Great War. Ubisoft's teams have crafted some smaller yet wonderful games. Child of Light and Grow Home are among some of their best work, but in their brief period of exploring more bite-sized titles, the first Valiant Hearts has resonated with us to this day. While the art style is rather unique and appealing to the eye, the story and its characters tell a tale that is brutal and gut-wrenching. Come for the clever puzzles, stay for the emotional story, and we'll leave it at that for you to go experience for yourselves if you haven't already. Rainbow Six Siege. It is a true wonder how Rainbow Six Siege has lasted as long as it has. We aren't saying that like it's a bad game or anything, no, far from it. But for players to continuously come back to a tactical shooter like this, despite it being almost a decade old, it's truly mesmerizing how Ubisoft is still finding new ideas to integrate here. New maps, new operatives with new abilities to change the way you and your team plays, and new game modes to appeal to almost any player have allowed Siege to live prosperously in an ever-competitive market. That's honestly plenty of reason to call it one of the best games Ubisoft has ever made, right? Beyond Good and Evil.
I'll find you, Paige, no matter what. Hang in there.
The adventure of investigative reporter Jade comes from a more experimental time in gaming, long forgotten, an era we may never get back. Beyond Good and Evil was a special game in how it gave the spotlight to a captivating female protagonist, focused on themes of politics and conspiracy while incorporating photography into gameplay, all while telling a fantastic narrative combining science fiction with anthropomorphic cartoon animals. It was such a unique game on the market, which makes it sad to know that the game failed to gain any ounce of commercial success. Still, Ubisoft fans ought to try this out for themselves before Beyond Good and Evil 2 rolls around, if that game ever does. Rayman Legends. Rayman Legends was the Super Mario World to Ubisoft's Nintendo, and it was just as brilliant as the Plumber's SNES outing. Just look at this game! Ubisoft's own UbiArt framework engine was at maximum potential here, with its gorgeous color schemes, shadows, lighting, and animation. As for the gameplay, the level design allowed players to gracefully and hastily blaze through vibrant worlds filled with imaginative characters. And this goes without mentioning the clever implementation of music-based platforming challenges like Castle Rock. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the best Rayman game Ubisoft ever delivered, and it's why we've been begging for Rayman's return ever since. Watch Dogs 2.
Whatever they have on me, it's all bullshit, and I'm sick of getting harassed for it.
All the more reason for a purge. We'll be watching.
It's a real shame that Watch Dogs never took off, but of the games in the franchise you should play, it's Watch Dogs 2. This was where Ubisoft's level designers got to flex their creative muscles and explore the idea of incorporating multiple solutions to combat and stealth scenarios. You could hack cameras and phones, use drones to take out enemies and survey the area. Anything in your arsenal was at your command. And if you had to whip out the pistols, well, time to change plans. It truly felt like an adventure in near-future crime.
Aim bigger.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Actually, no. Cue the dragon.
The very first Mario plus Rabbids was such a pleasant surprise in how it made tactical RPG mechanics work within the confines of two very unlikely IPs. Even more, it borrowed concepts from both IPs to create unique mechanics and levels. Sparks of Hope takes the same approach while making things more challenging by changing the order of play. Characters now have more freedom to move about, but now, your position matters more than ever, as attacking will end your character's turn and can put you at a disadvantage if you aren't paying attention to your enemies. And with each character having such diverse abilities, you'll be mixing and matching teammates with each other for creative setups. It's truly a must-play for Switch owners, especially when considering the imaginative DLC packs that bring in new enemies and new playable characters, like Rayman. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. You could easily choose to play any Prince of Persia and be guaranteed a really good time. The thing that makes Sands of Time shine the brightest, though, is just how riveting and magical it all feels. From the way you can wall run to the ability to slide down curtains and banners like a heroic scoundrel, Sands of Time gives you so much freedom in your movement that it creates interesting puzzles and platforming challenges. The controls may not strike every player these days, but for those of us who grew up in the early 2000s, this was one of the best games to play, and it kind of still is. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
So I assume not.
Do you know where she is?
Her quarters are at the top of the castello.
Everyone has their favorite Assassin's Creed game, or the AC game that they consider to be the best in the franchise. For us at MojoPlays, that would be Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. For starters, it is an incredibly well-polished game with nary a bug or glitch in sight, which feels like something that is hard to say about most modern Ubisoft games. It's also one of the very, very few Assassin's Creed games where it felt like you were in cahoots with other assassins as you assembled groups to go on other missions while you focus on more important matters. Story-wise, it offers interesting angles on Ezio's character while tackling sensitive subject matter rather well. If you really want to see a moment where Ubisoft was at the absolute top of their game, this was it.
About targets who are helping the Borgia.
And what? You'll make them disappear?
What's your favorite Ubisoft game you've played? There are plenty to choose from. Mine personally within the last few years was Immortals Fenyx Rising. But let us know down in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.